Welcome back, guys. The next task in this section, in this room rather, is passwords and authentication. For better or worse, passwords are an integral part of most authentication systems, and we use passwords to protect everything from our social media accounts to our banking applications. Unfortunately, despite their significant importance, it is still all too easy to create and use an insecure password, and even easier to take other actions that lower the overall security of the system. For example, even the most robust password in the world is useless if written on a whiteboard in full view of a web camera, especially if the same password is used for more than one service. This task will cover password security as well as other measures you can take to strengthen your overall authentication security. Now, what makes a strong password really? So, an advice on what constitutes a strong password has changed over time. In the past, people were advised to choose complex passwords that were easy to remember. For example, this Edinburgh 1988 to 2000. The password above is actually a collection of lowercase, uppercase characters. They will have symbols and numbers too. And it's also over 8 characters long and is created using knowledge that is unlikely to be known other than the owner of the password. It also doesn't conform to normal patterns, so it makes it harder to guess. For all intents and purposes, this is a traditionally strong password. That said, the personal connection means that this password could potentially still be made weaker through social engineering or in-depth information gathering on a target. Current best practices lean more towards length than complexity. For example, Vim is obviously indisputably the best text editor in existence. So by using a passphrase rather than a traditional password, the password is significantly longer and it also retains some of its more complex elements despite not looking quite obfuscated. So this has the advantage of being easier to remember whilst still being incredibly difficult to put first. Ideally, however, you should use long, completely random passwords. For example, something like this gibberish that we have on this screen. So this take millions of years to crack and are objectively the most secure option available. See, small letter W 41 equals to caps lock V1, close bracket S. Like, it's actually more like gibberish and it's still objectively the most secure option available. Now the drawback is usability. However, this is largely mitigated by using a password manager, which will be discussed in the next task. So what makes a weak password? People often go for simple passwords that mean something to them, often following one of a few simple patterns. For example, a commonly used pattern is a name/location, followed by a year, followed by an exclamation mark, and for example, we have this Garrett 2012 exclamation. This is enough to satisfy most password complexity requirements. We have this letter case, lowercase, uppercase, we have numbers, and we have symbols too, right? However, it is trivial to guess if an attacker knows that you have a son called Garrett who was born in 2012. So this kind of password is inherently extremely insecure. In short, any password that could easily be guessed by someone who knows you relatively well. So it could be someone that follows you on social media very well and they see your posts and you don't know their intent really, so they can easily guess your password. Equally, short passwords, especially those that don't contain any non-alphanumeric characters, are weak against brute force attacks. We'll look at this in more depth later in the task. So of equal importance to password strength is actually password reuse. You can have the strongest password in the world, but if you use it across numerous accounts and it gets leaked, an attacker can simply use this password to log into your other services and all other accounts are affected. Equally, if you find out that your password has been exposed, you'll have a lot of work to do changing all of your account's password. Now, exposed passwords. Unfortunately, not every service stores passwords securely, so it makes it important that you don't reuse passwords. So there is a background information here. Okay, click to read. So when you sign up for an online account, the provider must store a copy of your password in order to validate it the next time you sign in, right? But this poses a huge problem. How can the passwords be stored securely? Storing the passwords as plain text, that means the way you submitted them, is not an easy option, as every password will instantly be leaked. I mean, if it is stored the way it has been submitted, and if everybody can easily look that up. So encrypting the passwords is an improvement, but not by much. If the passwords are stored encrypted, then they can also be decrypted, right? An attacker simply has to obtain the key, and they can turn every encrypted password back into its plain text, right? So encrypting passwords were part of what made the 2013 Adobe breach so serious. We can read that up when you're less busy. Now, the industry standard password storage method is referred to as password hashing. Okay, so password hashing, or simply hashing, involves using complicated mathematical algorithms to take any input and turn it into a unique fixed length output in a way that it is impossible to reverse. This means that when you sign up, your password will be hashed and stored in a database in a way that it is impossible to reverse. Yeah, so it stops everyone from being able to read it, even the administrator. So when you try to sign in, the same algorithm is applied to the password that you supply. So if the stored hash matches the hash of your password they are trying to log in with, then you are allowed to authenticate. But if it does not, it will be declined. Ideally, every service would hash user passwords with a secure algorithm. Even if the entire database were leaked, the attackers would still need to waste valuable time and computational power attempting to brute force hashes to find the plain text passwords. This is why it is so important that passwords are long and preferably of a decent level of complexity. The longer the password and the larger the number of potential characters involved, the more power it takes to effectively guess the password inputs used to generate the hash. So what this means in essence is that you need a complicated password. Also, you need to be careful of what you post online, because instead of trying to break the hash, I would rather just use one would rather use social engineering methods to get the real passwords, right? So what happens if a service gets hacked and their database containing user account information gets leaked? As a best scenario, the service has used a secure hashing algorithm and have a strong password. In this case, your password is safe, but your email address or username may still be leaked publicly. So you may be expecting some spam emails. If you have some funny emails, you may be wondering where they are coming from. It could be from a leaked information. So as a worst case scenario, your plain text password is either immediately available or is easy for an attacker to find. If this happens, then both your username and password are known to the attacker, allowing them to take over your account or perform credential stuffing attacks. That means they'll use your stolen username and password, they'll pair it against other services to see if you use them somewhere. So let's say you have a banking app, you have early ride app, you have your monthly tracker app, you have your fitness app, you have your religious app, or so you have and you use the same passwords for everything. So once they get one, they can actually get into others, and we call that financial stuffing attacks. The largest and most well-known data exposure checker is called Avibin Pond. This is actually a very good website. You can check if your at any point if your credentials have been leaked. It exists as a free online service that scores data dumps and catalogs all of the information found, allowing users to enter their email addresses to see if they have been included in any breaches. Avibin Pond also allows you to add yourself to a notification list, meaning that you receive an email notifying you if your email address appears in any data breaches. Whilst not a perfect defense, notification services give you a vital early warning to change your passwords, hopefully before you get hacked. So let's say my email address is something at gmail.com, and check. Oh wow. Oh no, Pond. Pond in 224 data breaches and found 60 pastes. Wow. So that means this email that I guessed So you can actually see this. I just tried something at gmail.com and I'm having this. That's a lot of information. I don't know. OO web or 123RF. You see, so if this were to be an actual email address that has been pawned, we'll find these are the information you are going to find. AT&T, Animal Jam, okay, Anime Game, Animoto, Apollo, Apin, Bell. So these are the services that have this email and it has been pawned. So password attacks. An attacker has a few options when it comes to attacking passwords, right? Some attackers are entirely local. That is, they work entirely on a device owned by the attacker without interacting with the target service at all. Others are remote attacks involving the original server. Local attacks require a stolen copy of the credentials in question. The attacker will have a file full of stolen usernames or emails and their hashed passwords. Then they'll use a software to effectively try to guess the inputs that created the hash, either using randomly generated sequences of characters or by using a pre-generated word list of possible passwords. So now what this means is that, let's say we have an attacker and they are in a community of maybe elderly people that probably love to use their children's name as passwords, right? Although they may create strong passwords from it. So they need the hash, right? So what they can do is they try to, form some passwords themselves. They try to get a hash of those passwords and see what they can do, right? So hybrid types are also very widely used. These are when an attacker takes an existing word list and mutates it to add new characters, symbols, or random elements. Local password attacks will be demonstrated in the interactive elements for these tags. Remote attacks tend to be one of two categories. They either involve attempting to brute force known usernames by sending requests to the server and seeing what it responds with, or they use known username and password pairs from previous breaches to see if they are valid on the target site. This is the aforementioned credential stuffing. So we have to answer the questions below. Put yourself in the shoes of a malicious hacker. You have managed to dump the password database for an online service, but you still have to crack those hashes. So you click the green button at the start of the task to deploy the interactive as brute forcer. So we have the view site here. We're going to click on that. Now what's next? So you click complete. Based on the content of the website, you have generated a list of likely passwords, which is as follows. Copy the list of passwords into the password list field of the hash cracker, then click go. Can I copy this? Let's see. Oh, good. So we copy, Ctrl C, paste here, Ctrl V. Okay. Then click go. We're supposed to click go, right? We've done that, complete. Look at the current word or hash section of the hash cracker. Notice that for each word in the list you entered, the cracker is creating an MD5 hash of the word, then comparing it to the target hash. So initially, so this is the password, right? Let me explain this again. Let's copy this in advance. Ctrl C. Okay, so we had a blank. From here you can see that the great hash cracker, we have a target hash that was here originally. Here we have a target hash, so we try all our passwords. So this tool here is called the hash cracker. So if you have your target hash, you input it, then you bring all your possible passwords. So it creates hash for them and matches it to your target hash to find the real password. So notice that for each word in the list you enter, the cracker is creating an MD5 hash of the word, then comparing it to the target hash. If the two hashes match, then the password has been found. The hash cracker should find a password that matches the target hash very quickly. What is the password? Already copied that to submit. Good. This is a very simple browser-based example. However, in reality, local hash cracking with a word list isn't any more complex from a high level perspective. It is the same technique but with a lot more potential passwords. It's always very long. Hopefully, this example illustrates why it is so important to choose a strong password, even if the passwords are hashed appropriately. In the next task, we will look at some of the common account protection measures as well as how to generate secure passwords.